We will reconvene the meeting and call the meeting to order. I'd like to welcome the press. Welcome. Warren, Jim, Sheriff. We've got a few more coming in. Gentlemen, welcome. All right, any adjustments to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I would just like to add one item for discussion. Following the update on allowing elected officials to accrue leave time by the county attorney, add a new number 6 will be discussion of Macon County Cleanup Day, and that is in response to the concerns expressed from citizens at our last meeting.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else, Commissioner Bill? Chester? All good?
No, sir.
All right. Well, let's roll right through this. I know we got another location we're trying to be at 6 p.m. This goes well. If not, we'll stay here and get it done. So, Mr. Warren Cave, presentation of the Macon County Fire Protection Study.
You won't be late because of me, I promise that.
Are you done yet?
Almost. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight, essentially, I'm not asking for any action, but I want to present you with the fire protection study that was initiated by our office in January. One of the things that I want to reiterate to the board that I also made the fire chiefs aware of, and I'll make sure the public's aware of, is we didn't initiate this because we think that our fire service is in any form of imminent crisis.
Sure,
We're doing this to get a snapshot from above on where we think our system is, and to look at some of the issues that may be facing us in the future. We didn't do it to implement a countywide fire department. We didn't do it to try and eliminate volunteers. We essentially want to build on the benchmarking project that we started about a year or so ago, looking at our departments and trying to deal with any kind of issues that may come up in the future. With all that being said, the document you have in front of me is a little bit different format than how these are normally constructed. Most of your agencies, your governments will hire a contractor to come in and pay them tens of thousands of dollars to collect this data over 12 months or so, and convene several committees and come back to you with a lot of different recommendations. The issue that I have with that is this is not as clear-cut as an engineering study or a financial study where the answers are very clear-cut one direction or another. There are a lot of factors with this that are very specific to Macon County in general. And therefore, I did not want you to be bound to hiring a consultant, paying a large amount of money, because a lot of times what happens is your governing boards, if you invest money in a consultant, you feel like you're obligated to follow the results because you've got money invested in it. So that's not the way we went with this. I'm going to explain to you the process. We collected information. We actually met with the fire chiefs in January at the Fire Commission meeting, explained the information process to them. We collected information from the department as a whole. There were about 60 different data sets that we collected information from them to put into this study. Somebody from our office actually went and met with the representative from the fire department, so we had one response from each fire department to make sure that we were clear on the answers we were given and make sure that everybody understood the data we were collecting. We also collected information from the general public, and we collected information from the members of the fire department. There's actually a section on those surveys that we sent out where folks they were kind of open-ended questions. We got a lot of comments for those, a lot of opinions for those. One of the things I'll make the board aware of is that in this document, with the exception of folks that put their name and phone number in there, because we wanted these to be anonymous surveys, we put all of those opinions and comments in this document, good, bad, or indifferent, for you to read. The only thing we took out of the ones that had names and phone numbers is we took their names and contact information out for security purposes, for identity purposes, but we left all the rest of the opinions and information in here that was attached to those. I'll also tell you that anybody that requested any kind of action or wanted to be contacted back or had any kind of a question, we will take those names, numbers, contact information, we'll pass those along to the appropriate people and have them get back in touch with those folks. But their specific name and number is not in this document. Everything else is. We looked at several different things for this study. Particularly looked at levels of service. We looked at funding. We looked at apparatus, and we looked at staffing. Those are the 4 key points that are covered in this document. We also looked at a lot of historical data. And I guess that's one of the benefits of having somebody like myself do this instead of a consultant is I've been here when we were under the original fire tax system that started back in the 80s, and I was here when we went to the service fee system. So a lot of the historical data is pertinent because that tells you how we got where we're at and why we're where we're at. So a lot of that information is included in here. We looked at best practices in the industry. A lot of counties have already undertaken these in North Carolina. There's a lot of counties in other states that have undertaken these. Most of them will go the consultant route. The only one I know of that sort of taken the same approach that we did was Coney County, South Carolina. Their manager actually wrote their study for them, and they're following the same process that we've got in this document. With all that being said, there's a lot of data to process in here. It will take time for somebody to look this over. In the end of the book back here, I actually made 18 recommendations that come from me. It's not from a committee, it's strictly from me and from the practices that I saw and the information that we gathered on things that I think will improve the fire service in Macon County in the future or help us deal with issues that may come up in the future. Now, with that being said, some of those are easy to accomplish. You could use some of those you could do very quickly. Some of those recommendations may take 18 months or longer, particularly the ones that may involve some sort of contractual change that requires legal action to make sure we're doing the appropriate thing, and then anything else that we did that might intertwine with the budgetary calendar. You can't just make those changes mid-year. So some of these things could be done very quickly. Some of them could take years to accomplish. I in no way anticipate you coming back to me in a month or 3 months or 6 months or a year and saying that we're going to follow all 18 of these recommendations. I know that's probably not going to happen. You may not want to do any of these recommendations, and that's okay. If we've looked at this data and we've looked at the system we have, and we have a really good system, one of the things I want to make very clear is that we have a very healthy system that we're operating now. You may not want to do any of them. But the thing that I really want to come out of this is that we actually open that conversation between the board, between the fire department folks, to make sure we have these open conversations. We look at these issues, we put everything on the table, and we address anything that needs to be dealt with before it becomes a crisis in Macon County. I can say, and there's some folks back here in the room today, these folks have been very helpful. They've been very patient with us as we have accumulated this data in a very short period of time. Also, and this was our scheduling issue, we actually scheduled them for the county inspection. I think it was the week after that we actually collected all this data. And they haven't received their letters yet because I haven't gotten them written yet, but all of them passed. All departments passed their inspection this year. So we have a healthy system. But if there's any issues we want to deal with, we want to address, we want to look at them now, we want to make sure we're where we need to be for the future. And again, I can't say enough about these folks back here. And there's a lot of things that you see that are consistent across these studies, across the states, across the counties. And I guess if there's 3 things that I really had to reiterate that's common here, that's common in other places. One of the themes that's pretty consistent across all of these other studies we've looked at is a desire for everybody involved to have a unified system. Everybody's in this together. It's not an us versus them thing. We're all in this together. And I can also tell you, and there'll be a lot of questions when folks look at this, try and figure out what we're going to do in the future, if anything. It's my firm belief that the volunteer system is here to stay for years and years and years in Macon County. We need to support that. We need to grow it. We need to know how to develop it and work with it the best way we can to make it a healthy system. And I also think community-based fire departments are here to stay for years in Macon County. And again, we need to figure out how to nurture those, how to keep them healthy, and how to make this system grow. But those three principles seem to be fairly consistent all across Macon County and a lot of the other regions we've seen. So with that being said, that's a little bit of an introduction on this. So unless you have any more questions for me, I'm going to leave this with you. The fire departments that are here are going to get a copy of this tonight. The ones that are not here are going to have one of these hand delivered to them tomorrow. And depending on what time I get back to the office today, it'll either be live on the webpage tonight or in the morning. So it'll be available to the public as well.
When you say unified system, unified, what's the definition? What's a unified?
Unified means we're all in it for one purpose. It doesn't mean under one heading, under one group, under one agency. We're all in it for the purpose of serving the citizens, and that's our sole purpose, is making sure the citizens are taken care of in the best way possible.
One we've all had concerns, not only for a long time, we've seen it, is the volunteer, you address the volunteer system about future volunteers and how that.
There are some recommendations in there as far as the volunteer system. There are numbers in there that talk to you about the number of volunteers we have. There's some demographics in there that tells you who your volunteers are. There are some target populations that we seem to either be missing or not meeting the needs of that can serve our particular volunteer agencies, particularly the younger folks and particularly the older folks. We seem to have the middle range of volunteers, but we're missing a whole lot of younger folks and we're missing some of the older folks. And we need to figure out how to get them included in the system. The other thing that was glaringly obvious to us was the audit departments have auxiliaries, support folks that don't necessarily do firefighting or rescue work, but they do behind the scenes stuff. They take care of the building, they feed the folks, they manage community events, they take care of a lot of behind the scenes things that you never see. And we have a very, very low number of those folks in Macon County. Very few fire departments have those folks. So I think there's some other opportunities there that we need to address.
Mr. Kip, on the 6 Mile Insurance District, did that used to be 5?
Yes, sir. It originally was 4, then it went to 5, then it went to 6.
Does that cause an overlap?
No, that they actually do not overlap. You cannot actually overlap in the insurance district. Now, there may be areas that could be in a different insurance district depending on how you twisted those areas around, but they actually do not overlap.
When did they go to 6 miles?
90s, some late 90s, somewhere in it's been a while, yes, sir.
Thanks, Warren. You've obviously put a lot of work and thought into this, and I'm looking forward to reviewing your results. You mentioned earlier about doing some planning, and it's interesting. We'd had a meeting with the planning board a couple months ago, and we discussed very simply, if you don't know where you're going, you don't know how to get there. Well, I think we know where we want to go from a commissioner standpoint. We want to have an efficient, an effective, and a responsible fire service. And then how do we get there? How do we deliver that? And I'm looking forward to reading your plan on how we might do a better job. And I'm looking forward to it. So thank you.
I think our next action needs to be give all the stakeholders time to review this information and make their own opinions on where they think we need to go and what we need to do. And then we, at some point in the future, we get back together and we get the forum started where we can start discussing some of these issues and like I said, deal with the things before they become issues.
Okay, what about, I know you're on that IT broadband committee. Anything in here, recommendations, anything?
Nothing specifically. That there is a section in there on data collection as far as standardizing the data collection we get from each fire department. A lot of them either have limited access to submit data into certain systems, or they may use a different reporting system, one department from the next, so sometimes it's hard to standardize that data collection. So there is some information about standardizing that. So when we look at everybody, we're looking at everybody through the same set of eyes. But other than that, that's probably the closest thing to what you're asking, Gary.
Will Nanahala always be kind of a disadvantage in the location and services, or is that broadband round through there nothing? fire departments and rescue departments to connect into it?
I don't know that I would say that they're at a disadvantage. Matter of fact, some days I want to live in Nanahalis. It might be an advantage to live over there, Gary. But there are certainly some of the rural areas that require special attention, and we have to pay specific attention to those places. That's one of the themes we made sure was prevalent in this, is that no matter what we did to try and standardize anything or make anything better or make improvements, you have to look at the end result and make sure that the service that the customer gets is not compromised. That's the main goal. Everything else has to tie off of that.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to say that I reviewed the drafts as Warren was putting this report together, and I think he hit on it, but this is a thorough, every stone has been turned over. Warren has worked with the fire departments on this and went to them and worked alongside them in developing this report. And I think one thing that went kind of, you hit on it, but you couldn't pay somebody $70,000 to come in here and produce a report that is more thorough and all-inclusive than this report. And Warren has done a great job putting it together. He's put a lot of time in it.
You may find some typos. There may be a typo somewhere. One other thing before I sit down, Mr. Chairman.
I didn't know you could count that.
I have a secretary that's true. One of the other things, and to reiterate what he said, there were some areas that we looked at that other studies looked into. For instance, putting different departments together or doing an all-career fire department consolidation. And we knew that wasn't going to work here, but we tried to vet those out. You'll see some pages in here that discuss those. It won't work here. I'll tell you up front, it won't work here, but we tried to make sure that even if there was something that we thought wouldn't work here, we explored all those different avenues to at least make sure we had went through the process and vetted all those out before we constructed this.
There's one last question I got on in here. If you remember, and you remember well, I was here, and I guess Jimmy was here, I'm sure Larry and some others were here. But for many years, to get consistent budgets from the fire departments was a struggle. And we finally got, did you address getting consistent data?
Yes.
From the fire departments and how that's to be done that?
Yes.
So this board and other boards in the future can look at something and say, you know, because everything's data driven now. This
Yes.
budget will be that we're talking about. So did you talk about that in here?
Yes, yes, we did. There's very specific sections in there about the financial accountability. We talk about some of the differences in the numbers that, for instance, we would get at budget time versus the calculations we may get mid-year. And we don't think there's any issue with as far as mismanagement of those funds, but it's very hard to compare when you have two different data sets. So that was something we addressed in here as far as trying to standardize that data collection to make sure that we have the right information, and that when you compare one department to another, you really and truly get an accurate picture of what you're comparing one to the other.
And I was not saying that it was just always hard. It's always been hard to sit down and do that.
Right.
Because nothing's been consistent. The data, if you're looking at the same, if you're looking at column A, B, C, and D and the list is below it, but we never got
Right.
to that point, it seemed like.
Right. And there is one other thing that I want to make very clear. There's a lot of guidelines in here. There's a lot of NFPA guidelines. There's a lot of, for instance, fire apparatus manufacturers guidelines that talks about apparatus conditions and replacement schedules. And we've got numbers and percentages in here based on those national standards. But one of the things we may have to realize is that's fine to have a national standard, but you may have to have a Macon County standard. We are worlds above where we were 10 years ago on apparatus quality that's here, on the financial records that we have now, the budgetary process we go through now. We are worlds above where we were, but we don't want to ever get behind. So that's why we were working on this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Warren.
Thank you, Warren. Thank you, everybody working. Thank you,
Approval of report of unpaid taxes.
Teresa said she could be here, Anita, but basically what I sent to you in the email, the letter is relatively self-explanatory. She just wants to make sure that the state statute, of course, is being followed, and that is The tax collector must report to the governing board the total amount of unpaid taxes for the current fiscal year. Statute continues by saying that upon receipt of that report, the governing board must order the tax collector to advertise the tax liens. So she's just simply looking for formal action to advertise what has normally been advertised this time each year.
Okay. Get a motion on that, or any discussion?
How many you got?
Total, $1,745,135.36.
Motion to authorize the tax department moving ahead.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 4-0. Thank you. Next item, presentation and award of bids for the Robert C. Carpenter Community Building renovations. Mr. County Manager.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you will recall, at our last meeting, at our meeting on February 14th, we had decided that the Robert C. Carpenter Building, as we had received the informal bids back, those bids exceeded that threshold established by North Carolina general statutes for the informal bid process. Thus, at that point, we were authorized to move forward with the formal bid process by North Carolina general statutes. And again, these are the areas of electrical, windows and doors, gym floor, plumbing, and general construction at the Robert C. Carpenter Building. These were the areas that we were authorized to move forward with the formal bid process under. We had the bid opening on March 16th, 2017. The bid opening resulted in 4 of the 5 areas for this construction: the electrical, gym floor, plumbing, and general construction being non-conforming. And what non-conforming to the formal bid process is, in the electrical category, we did not receive any bids. We actually received 1 bid. It was late. Thus, we will have to reject the electrical bid and authorize a rebid. The windows and doors, we did receive 3 conforming bids. The lowest responsible bidder for the windows and doors was Silva Glass and Mirror at $59,706. And what we'll be talking about here tonight is going ahead and accepting this bid and authorizing me to move forward and enter into contract negotiations that are representative of this $59,706, which we would accept in the bid. The gym floor, we did have 3 respondents. However, 2 of the respondents did not have a bid bond with the bid. Thus, those 2 bids are non-conforming. So we again will have to reject the gymnasium floor, place it out to rebid. Plumbing, we only had 1 bid submitted, and general construction, we had 2 bids submitted. So both of those, again, are non-conforming in the way that the formal bid process under North Carolina general statutes requires you to have 3 bids. So thus what we will do now tonight, if the board so desires, is, like I said, award the Silva Glass, or accept the Silva Glass and Mirror bid of $59,706 and authorize me as county manager to move forward and enter into a contract with them that is representative of that $59,706 which they submitted with the bid. For the other disciplines, the electrical, the gymnasium floor, the plumbing, and the general construction, I would recommend that the board reject and authorize us to rebid these projects. Right now, with this, the windows and doors, we were really concerned and hoping that we did get 3 responsive bids back there, because they have about a 6-week lead time. So we did. It is important to note that while we are rebidding this, if we can hold a meeting on April the 3rd or the 4th, we would be opening the bids on April 3rd. If we could continue this meeting to April 3rd or 4th, we will be able to accept the bids and authorize to enter into a contract at that time. Should we do that, we're in hopes that all contracts will be signed and negotiated by April 7th, and work could commence on the following Monday, April 10th. This is the formal bid process, as it does require 3 bids for each of these disciplines. It is important to note now that the second time you formally bid, that requirement for 3 is no longer there. You can go, if you have 1, you can move forward on that area of the project. But again, having to go through the formal bid process as a result of project cost exceeding the informal range, we have to abide by the formal bid process, and we're simply doing what the North Carolina general statutes tell us to do as we bid this project in the formal bid process. Would like to say that I do not expect these, us having to place this out for bid again. I do not expect this to delay the grand opening, the final completion date of the project. And I say that because, again, the windows and doors were something we were very concerned about due to the lead time. So we have been able to address that. And again, with maintenance performing the demolition, we have been able to do that thoroughly and be sure that we're dotting every I and crossing every T, if you will, with respect to that demolition while this is going on. So we're in hopes that those efforts by maintenance that are still continuing will result in a much reduced time for these electrical contractors, the general construction, and the plumbers. The good job and the thorough job that maintenance has done on this demolition is going to reduce the time needed for each of those disciplines. So with that being said, that is why I do not expect this, after speaking with our architect, to delay the grand opening of this project. We still are expecting and hoping for this project to be open on or before July 1st.
Chester, is it okay if we reject all these in one motion, or do we need to do them individually?
All except the windows.
Except for the windows?
The windows and the doors.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Windows. Yeah, I think that's fine.
Well, based upon the county manager's recommendation, Chair will entertain a motion to reject the electrical bid, the gym floor bid, the plumbing bid, and the general construction bid, and then we'll authorize him to rebid those items.
So moved, Chair.
Got a motion? Second, any discussion?
Mr. Manager, did Silver Windows and Door bid it any of the previous time?
No, they did not. They did not bid it the previous time. They indicated to us that they did not have enough time to prepare a bid, so they didn't bid it on the informal bid.
And the logic for accepting theirs now in lieu of waiting and accepting all the bids at the same time is it would give them opportunity to go ahead and place their material order?
That is, again, when we were reviewing these bids, that is a legitimate reason for not submitting a bid. The lead time, of course, will play into that decision, and in reviewing the specs with the bid, they were deemed to be responsible by the architect. So another thing with the informal bid range, the bids we got back, the bids submitted by Silva Glass and Mirror, not only won in the formal range that we opened on March 16th, but if you go back to the informal bids that were submitted, which Silva Glass did not participate in due to time constraints, they were $3,651.86 less than the lowest bid that was submitted in the informal process for windows and doors. So all those factors play into that decision to go ahead and accept this bid.
Do we have any reason to believe that during this next bid process that anything could change relative to the bid document that would impact the glass package, the windows and door package?
No, sir.
Okay, and one last question. We don't have any concerns that the bids would come in a range that was found to be unacceptable, and we had to start changing anything that would affect the window and door package?
No, sir, we don't. When you mean in the range that's unacceptable?
What if they come in at a much higher number than these other numbers that we've seen?
Well, the windows and doors will go in regardless. We wouldn't be making any changes that would affect the windows and doors, and that building is dire need of new windows and doors. So that was something that we had discussed years ago of doing on its own, so.
I think as long as you're committed to replacing the windows and doors, no problem with moving forward. However, if you are concerned about the bids coming in higher than you hoped for them to, and you're at that point in time trying to figure out what is your priority, and you think that there's some possibility that the windows might not be your priority in this project, you might want to hold off. But if you're pretty sure you want those windows and doors changed, I think it's probably pretty important to go ahead and get them ordered.
Well, that was my point exactly. If we go ahead and award it, then we'd make that commitment regardless of what that number is.
If there's no further questions, we'll call the question on rejecting the 4 bids and authorizing the county manager to rebid them. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Did you vote aye? I'm sorry. Next item is to approve the bid by Silva Glass for the windows and doors for $59,706.
And authorize your county manager to execute a contract consistent with that price and the bid specifications.
Well said.
And, I don't know if we can tack this on, we need a budget amendment from fund balance for 59,706 to be able to fund it.
Can we
Would
tack
be
that on?
appropriate.
Can we tack that on?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. For a motion on that? Got a motion, Commissioner Gillespie?
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, 4-0 again. Thank you, gentlemen. Is that all? Barbara C. Carpenter, Mr. Manager?
Do you have anything, Terry?
Anything, Tom?
Can we release the bid security for the non-accepted windows and doors packages?
The bid bonds,
The bid bonds?
I think it
One of them was a
is.
cashier's check.
One was a check, so.
We can release for the just the windows and doors.
Once you,
Rejected.
as we're gonna cash it. As to the, as to Silva Glass,
Theirs was the bid bond. We keep
There's
that.
hang on to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the other non-winning bid.
And just for the record, Silver Glass did give a no bid on the first one, but they could not respond formally by a Tuesday. They could by Thursday, but of course that would have missed our deadline. So they tried to respond to the informal bids the first time.
Anything further?
No, sir.
Move on to the next item. Update on allowing elected officials to accrue leave time. Mr. Attorney, I think we discussed this in January or February. That we had, I think, is there 2 county, just refreshing my mind, we have 2.
You have the
Two county
sheriff
employees.
and the county register of deeds who currently are not experiencing the same benefits as other employees of the county with respect to annual leave, vacation days, and sick leave.
Okay.
I have prepared a proposed resolution for your consideration that would change that if that is the wishes of the board, to make those 2 elected officials have consistent rights as far as vacation pay, annual leave pay, and sick leave.
Is there any other changes in this?
There is. There was a provision or an amendment that was done back in November of 2012 dealing with shared leave. That particular amendment did not get worked into Article 7 of the county's personnel policy. And since I was restating and modifying and amending Article 7, I thought it would be good to go ahead and include all of those things in at one time.
Good job keeping up with us.
Mr. Chairman, can I recommend that if we want to extend this, if we want to, it's up to you, Mr. Chairman, are we going to, is this meeting going to be, we're going to extend this meeting on to April the 4th or whatever? Give us time to review this.
Okay.
I can make just a quick
change to the date on it if
I
you're
mean, you-
interested in dealing with it on the 4th.
So, but there's no changes other than what you stated, just adding the
This is the
sheriff
same
and
document we had,
Register of
right?
Deeds.
I mean, this is a new document, correct, Sheriff?
That is a restated Article 7. What I can do for you, if it would be helpful to each of you, I have a red line and strikeout version of this. That way you can see each and every change that has been made.
I'd like to see the changes. I've read the other one, but I don't know, to pick the changes yet.
Let me send that out to you and we can deal with it again on the 4th of April. if
That's
the
not
date.
gonna hurt nothing.
No, no, this is to be dealt with prospectively from the date that this is passed. It will not have retroactive effect.
We're not about a 2 weeks.
Sorry, Sheriff.
Mr. Chairman, is it okay if I say something?
Absolutely.
I would just simply like to thank you all for bringing this up. I've literally spent years trying to bring us to this point, and putting it off until April is perfectly fine with me. I want to publicly thank our county manager as well as our finance director and her department for helping me with this process. I literally have spent years trying to get back a benefit that was taken away from me after I got elected to one of the highest positions in the county, which is very unfair in my book. Half of my career I got this, and then it was suddenly taken away because I decided to serve as sheriff of Macon County. And so none of you as commissioners are responsible for that happening, being taken away. And so I just publicly want to thank you, Derek, and Lori, for the work, and Chester for the work that's gone into to look at this. I'm still not going to be happy in the end because I've literally lost 15 years of a benefit that was taken away from me. But it's gonna be a little bit advantage to me. But just like everything I've done in my career to help my fellow officers that work with me, I hope I'm here a long time. But what this will actually do is help the next sheriff in the future. And so I'm willing to take another one for the team, which I've done my whole career as sheriff.
All right, thanks, Sheriff.
Thank you.
Robbie, is this benefit consistent with what you see your counterparts getting?
In the western part of the state, the sheriffs do get this. Not all the sheriffs in the state of North Carolina, but a lot of the sheriffs weren't deputy sheriffs working for that agency, and didn't have it taken away. Some of them did, some of them didn't.
A lot of the big
This
counties-
was brought to my attention by the county manager about a week or two after I got elected, when I learned that it was being taken away. And I've literally been through 2 or 3 county managers trying to get it fixed.
Thank you, Robbie.
And you can also tell them, a lot of the larger counties, the sheriff's department literally have their own employee manual that supersedes all other county employees. Their manual supersedes anything else that, and the sheriff has that ability, and they've given that ability in a lot of the counties. That their benefit package in a lot of the larger counties is way above and beyond what a regular county employee would receive. Is that correct?
As a rookie sheriff, I was just happy to have a job at the end of the election. And so I didn't really see what benefit it was to me. And now I've had several officers that have actually retired working for me. And I've seen the benefit of having that added time added to their retirement. It's a huge benefit, as you all can imagine. And, but I don't get that. And I felt like, even though I hope to be here a lot longer, I think it's a benefit that I deserve.
I agree.
Do you understand why we're wanting to do, we've saw it, but we've not saw the latest changes.
Absolutely.
That the attorney's made, and for your benefit and ours too, to make sure that we understand what changes.
And I appreciate that. But I didn't know if I'd get the opportunity to say that publicly about Lori and Chester and Derek.
Like this line, it says, if you cannot see cars stopping behind you and you're stopped at a car and they are slowing down, you should pull ahead. I didn't know that. I didn't know that was in.
Get driver's manual. Driver.
Leave the running
Get
deal.
his license.
He has to drive home tonight. Thank you.
All right,
Appreciate
Mr.
your job.
Manager, we'll move that to our next
It does.
meeting.
Appreciate what you do.
Yes, sir.
good. All right, item number 6, discussion, Macon County Cleanup Day.
Take one and pass it down. While you guys are getting those distributed down, you'll recall at the last meeting, there were many individuals from our community that came to the board meeting expressing concern about the litter alongside the roadways in Macon County. And with that being said, you know, it was brought to my attention, Brittany at Macon News had brought it to my attention, that the North Carolina Department of Transportation is planning, they're doing their annual spring litter, I think it's called the litter cleanup initiative. So the litter sweep initiative. So that initiative that is going on with the NCDOT is occurring April 15th through April 29th. And with that being said, you know, I feel like that is a good opportunity to kind of work in conjunction with the North Carolina Department of Transportation and kind of make sure and encourage participation in that event in Macon County. The DOT, as part of this initiative, encourages volunteers. You can find that information on their website, which I've included on this little flyer that I've passed out. But they encourage volunteers to select a road and go and collect this trash throughout this period. But if we set a certain day aside, and here again, proposing Saturday, April the 29th, which will be the last day of this statewide initiative, you know, I would like to do something to create more awareness and hopefully encourage community participation in this event as we, as citizens of Macon County, work to address this problem. And so, April 29th, 2017, if it is, you know, if the board so desires, we could have a cleanup day. And basically what that is doing is we have a sign-up sheet here that is attached on, and any organization, individual in Macon County can sign up and indicate the location that they will be cleaning up, their contact person. And then I also had thought, you know, it would be nice for these individuals that are going to partner with us on this day in doing this litter cleanup to kind of have something in it for them. So if the board so desires, on that April 29th at 12:30, I've contacted Stacy Guffey at Cowee School to host a barbecue, basically a barbecue lunch for those participating in this cleanup. And again, we will have a number and an RSVP for this event because it is indicated on the sign-up sheet here. If we choose to move forward with this, the flyer as well as the sign-up sheet will be located in the front office. I've spoken with representatives from the DOT, the district engineer, and they have indicated that they will be willing to provide us with vests, gloves, and trash bags that are used in this cleanup process. We can hold those at the courthouse at 5 West Main Street, and people can come by and pick those up and sign up on the sign-up sheet to help assist with this litter cleanup in Macon County. And with that, I'm going to promote this, if the board so chooses to move forward, among county departments. And each county department, or if the county department wants to, they can select a road, and that department can clean a road up. I'm also going to talk with the school system superintendent, both managers and elected officials. I know the town of Highlands does an initiative similar to this. Speak with them, get involvement there, see if we can get, again, through the superintendent, involvement in the school system, and just make this take this statewide initiative and focus it here towards Macon County, and be sure that we get the most out of it as possible and help with the litter problem in Macon County, cleaning up alongside the roads. So that pretty much all the information about this initiative is here on the on this cleanup day flyer that I've given you. An example of a sign-in sheet is on the back, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that anyone might have regarding.
I presume you'll give out bags, gloves, vests, like you were saying, and if somebody fills up a bag, they'll leave it on the side of the road? And
Yes, they leave it on the side of the road, and the NCDOT will come by and pick it up.
Same day, or?
Yes, and I have also spoken with Chris Stahl at the landfill, and he has contacted the NCDOT representatives that are heading this up, and we're going to have, basically from April 15th through the 29th, any of these bags which are clearly marked, orange bags that lay on the side of the road, that are picked up and brought in, Chris is going to weigh them and keep a total of the amount of litter picked up. And he is also going to, on this April 29th, with the volunteer effort that we're putting together, going to weigh on that day the bags that are brought in as a result from that event, so we can have an idea of just exactly how much litter was picked up on that day.
Just to make it clear, they gonna feed them every day at Gettysburg?
No, the April 29th.
You don't say that.
It's on the heading of the flyer.
So it's just a one day,
Yeah,
Monday, beginning Monday, April 24th through Friday, April 28th.
that is when the cleanup supplies will be available at 5 West Main
But the
Street.
cleanup day is just one big day.
The cleanup day is April 29th,
And
yes.
the rain out day is
The rain out day is May the 6th.
May the 6th. So the 29th is on Saturday.
The 29th is on a Saturday, yes, sir.
Sheriff, can we get some blue lights around that day?
Hopefully, there probably won't be enough for every community, but we'll definitely take part in
We'll
it.
probably have an idea by then which areas
Yeah,
are
oh,
gonna be
yeah.
hit, so.
Yeah.
And the North Carolina DOT on their website, which is listed here, has litter sweep safety procedures and videos, which they encourage strongly to be viewed prior to the pickup. And again, that's indicated here on this flyer. We would encourage as well for those participating in the event to watch those videos. But, in response to the outcry from the public that we had here at the last meeting, I think it would be great to see if we can get some involvement sparked in this and see just exactly how big of a dent that we could make in this. And again, I'll speak with both municipalities and the superintendent and try to encourage as much participation as possible. The Rotary clubs, the community groups.
Good job, Mr. Manager, good idea. Ms. Grimes, thank you.
They got it.
Do we need a motion to declare the 29th as Macon County Cleanup Day?
I don't think.
I think it would be appropriate
Consensus?
actually, and to authorize this. I think by doing that, I think you may well pick up some insurance coverage that you might not otherwise have for volunteers.
So we have them here.
We'll be glad to put that in form of a motion. Mr. Chairman, if you-
We've got a motion on the floor? A second. Any further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So the sign-up sheet will have the times, and is it that individual organization to organize the time and?
Yes, what they'll do, and basically what this is doing is, it's just taking the NCDOT process that, you never really know, like when the trash sweep is. Like had I not had my attention brought to this, I wouldn't have known personally that this trash sweep was going on during this time. It's just given us a little bit more, so that we can have an impact on it, kind of designating it. It's basically just highlighting the fact that they need to participate
It's a 4-hour window that you're really.
in this NCDOT event. Yes, and on that day from 8 to 1, just pick up the trash, leave the trash on the side of the road, and even at our next meeting, we'll have additional details. Hopefully, this sign-up sheet will begin to fill up, and I think that we're gonna try to get the local media outlets to really make a point on publicizing this sign-up sheet. And let's see the organizations and the individuals that are signing up to do this. And so we can thereby hopefully continue to encourage participation in this event.
That's good. Anything else? We're doing great on time. All right, well, I'm gonna make the recommendation that maybe we will recess until Tuesday, April the 4th, I was gonna recommend 5 PM, just to save this crew from having to hang out an extra hour. If 6 PM works better, we'll go with that. It's everybody's pleasure.
Good.
5 West Main Street.
At 5 West Main Street.
Need a motion in a second.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so we're meeting Tuesday, April 4th at 5 PM. Get it in my calendar. We have a motion on the table. Second, any further discussion? All in favor? Mr. Manager, will you please let Commissioner Higdon know?
April
about that
4th,
meeting, April 4th.
5 o'clock.
At 5 PM.
Mr. Chairman, if everybody's had a chance to, if Chester sends it out between now and then, on this, on the changes that he's made to the, for the register deeds of the sheriff, that, if that time you want to bring it up.
I think we should.
Yeah, you better save that much time, if he would like to see it, I think we all would.
All right, so we will recess until April 4th,
So now-
5 PM.
5 West Main Street.
5 West Main Street.
Commissioner's boardroom.